Simi Valley, California, a quiet suburban enclave, tree-lined streets, family homes. On September 27, 2024, at around p.m., an ordinary Friday night in this peaceful neighborhood shattered in an instant. A teenage daughter, panicked, dialed 911, reporting that her mother, Jessica Marie Tinoco, aged 34, was being stabbed in her own home. Her attacker, her live-in boyfriend, Ramon Raymond Joseph Rivas, also 34. That night, behind closed doors, a brutal act of violence would claim Jessica's life in front of several of her children. This is her story and the investigation that followed. Jessica Marie Tinoco was known to her friends and family as a warm, kind, devoted mother. At 34, she balanced the demands of parenting. She had 5 children, some very young with work and building a home. Several reports describe Jessica as someone who just had a pure soul. She just wanted to help. A close friend said she was always doing things for her kids, putting them first, making sacrifices, and dreaming of a stable life for them. According to her family, Jessica had been in a relationship with Rivas for about 2 years. They shared a home. By all appearances, she believed in second chances and perhaps in helping a man she cared for build a better future. But beneath that generosity, there may have been warning signs. Some close to Jessica hinted that her willingness to help him, even despite his past, was part of what made her vulnerable. Her sister later said that Jessica felt like she could help this guy. And that was her flaw. Her family described her not just as a loving mother, but also as someone who lifted people up, and people lifted her memory up after her death. On the other side of this dark story stands Ramon Joseph Rivas, sometimes called Raymond. According to the Ventura County District Attorney's Office, he was born on February 17, 1990. Rivas came with a criminal history. At the time of the fatal incident, he was on post-release community supervision, a form of probation, meaning he had been released from prison but was still under legal supervision. The DA's office confirmed that strike enhancement serious prior felony convictions were being applied in this case. While media reports do not disclose the full extent of all his prior convictions, they do make clear this was not his first run-in with the law. That background of criminality, perhaps instability, set the stage for what would happen. Jessica may have believed she was in a relationship with someone who had made mistakes, but she might not have fully understood the danger she was inviting into her everyday life. The evening began like any other dinner, perhaps some family tension, but nothing publicly out of the ordinary. Then a terrible escalation. According to the Ventura County DA's press release, a domestic dispute unfolded inside Jessica's home on California Avenue in the 800 block Simi Valley. Shortly thereafter, Jessica's teenage daughter called 911. She told the dispatcher her mother was being stabbed by her boyfriend. Simi Valley police officers arrived. On scene swiftly, they found Jessica bleeding, with multiple stab wounds to her face, chest, and abdomen. The violence had been vicious, repeated, not a single isolated cut. Her children, in shock, either ran for help or cowered in fear. Some witnessed the attack. Others fled. Paramedics were called in, and Jessica was rushed to Los Robles Hospital. Despite efforts, she died from her injuries. The scene was chaotic: blood, screaming, frightened children, a mother's worst nightmare realized. And at the center, a man who would soon face the gravest of accusations. When police entered Jessica's home, the alleged attacker, Rivas, was still there. According to the DA, he was arrested without incident. In many cases of domestic murder, the suspect tries to flee, but here officers say he remained, perhaps stunned, perhaps resigned. From the crime scene, investigators collected evidence and built their case. The DA's office would later detail the stabbing in their official complaint, charging Rivas with murder, 2 counts of child endangerment, and alleging strike enhancements due to prior serious felonies. On October 1, 2024, Rivas made his first court appearance in Ventura County Superior Court. His arraignment was scheduled for October 30th in courtroom 13. By then, he had already been held in custody without bail. The Ventura County District Attorney's Office, under Derek Nosarenko, assigned Senior Deputy District Attorney John Barrick of the Major Crimes Homicide Unit to prosecute. Their case rests on multiple pillars: Murder Penal Code 187, that Rivas unlawfully and with malice killed Jessica by stabbing her; child endangerment, because several of Jessica's children witnessed the attack; strike enhancements, under California's 3 strikes law due to Rivas's prior serious felonies; use of a deadly weapon, the special allegation that he used a knife to commit the crime. These are powerful charges if proven. Rivas faces potentially decades behind bars, possibly life, depending on his prior record and how the court treats the strike enhancements. Perhaps the most painful part of this tragedy is not just Jessica's death, but the fact that her own children witnessed it. According to the DA's complaint, several children were present in the home when the stabbing started. Their mother's screams, the flashing of a weapon, her collapse, these are memories that may never fade. Some ran for their lives, others stayed, locked in terror. Trauma experts warn that children who witness violence, especially the kind that ends in death, can suffer deeply. There are risks of PTSD, anxiety, sleep disorders, and long-term emotional scars. For these children, the loss is not only of a parent, but of their sense of safety and trust. To the community, her death highlighted how domestic violence doesn't just isolate couples, it destroys families. In the wake of Jessica's death, her community rallied. On September 30th, 2024, just 3 days after her passing, more than 100 people gathered in Simi Valley for a candlelight vigil. Friends, family, neighbors all lit candles, shared stories, and remembered her warmth. One friend described Jessica's spirit, generous, caring, always thinking of others. Family members recalled her hope to help Rivas, even though some worried for her. Her sister, Nicole de la Cerda, said the family hopes the tragedy will raise awareness about domestic violence, remind them that they're loved, she said. A GoFundMe was launched shortly after her death to support her children for funeral expenses and longer-term care. Through this grief, her loved ones are trying to turn pain into purpose, ensuring Jessica's name is not forgotten and that others might be protected in her memory. Jessica's murder is a stark reminder of a broader societal issue, domestic violence. In her case, the DA's office made a pointed reminder the crime happened during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence is not a problem confined to private lives, it spills into neighborhoods, courtrooms, and generational trauma. Many survivors fear asking for help, especially when their abusers have criminal histories. Jessica's willingness to help Rivas, even with his past, reflects a dangerous but common dynamic, someone believing in change even when history suggests otherwise. There's also a justice question. How can systems better track and supervise individuals with violent pasts on post-release supervision? Rivas was on such supervision. Was there enough oversight? Could earlier interventions have prevented this? Community resources matter deeply. The Ventura County Family Justice Center, named in the DA's press release, is one such lifeline. But for many, reaching out feels risky or shameful. Jessica's death forces us to ask, are we doing enough? At this stage in the case, motive has not been publicly confirmed in full. However, based on court filings and reporting, we can examine a few plausible factors. Instability and recidivism. Rivas's criminal past likely contributed to volatility in his life. Being on community supervision means external pressures, failure, relapse. Temptation are real, domestic conflict. Young couples, especially when children are involved, carry enormous stress. The complaint describes a domestic dispute. Emotional dependence. Jessica's empathy and her desire to help may have created a dependency. She believed in him, but perhaps didn't fully realize how dangerous his demons were. Her sister's comment that this was her flaw is telling. Triggering event. It is possible a fight escalated quickly, perhaps over discipline, finances. Jealousy or a perceived threat. We do not yet know what the trigger was, but the violence suggests deep emotional rupture. Whatever the root, the act was not random, it was deliberate, sustained, and witnessed by the very family she protected. As we walk this difficult path through Jessica's life and her final moments, I want to ask you, the listener, to reflect, could more have been done? Looking at Rivas's supervision and criminal record, do you think legal systems should intervene more aggressively when there's a known violent history? Community responsibility, as bystanders, neighbors, friends, how can we better support someone like Jessica before tragedy strikes? Children and trauma, what support should be immediately offered to children who witness violence? How can communities help them heal? Prevention vs. response. Is prevention enough, or do we also need reforms in supervision, policing, and domestic violence resources? Your own role. If you suspect someone you care about is in a dangerous relationship, what would you do? Would you speak up, intervene, connect them to help? Please pause here and think, share your reflections. Your voice keeps Jessica's memory alive and helps shape a world where fewer lives are lost this way. As of now, the case is in the hands of the Ventura County Superior Court. Rivas has been charged, but a trial is yet to come, or at least publicly reported. Prosecutors in the DA's Major Crimes Homicide Unit, led by John Barrick, will present evidence, forensic, testimonial, and likely digital, to prove that Rivas committed murder. The strength of the prosecution's case appears significant. Children as witnesses, the crime scene, the weapon, prior record, and a direct 911 call from a terrified daughter. If convicted, Rivas faces decades behind bars, especially with those strike enhancements. But the defense might challenge motive, argue about his mental state, or raise issues around his supervision. They may also emphasize any mitigating circumstances. At this point, the community, Jessica's family, and her children all wait for justice, for resolution, and for healing. Jessica Tinoco's life and death leave a legacy that cuts deep. A loving mother remembered for her generosity, her compassion, and her willingness to believe in someone else's potential. Domestic violence does not always announce itself with words sometimes. It lurks in the background, in the shadows of second chances, for victims. For bystanders, for communities, for legal systems, her death is not just a tragedy, it's a testament to what happens when help arrives too late. A reminder that children witnessing violence carry scars, and they need protection, therapy, and a chance to rebuild their sense of safety. Jessica's memory has sparked vigils, her loss has inspired advocacy, and her family insists her life should mean more than an obituary. This is not just a crime story, it's a human story. Story of love, of failure, of vulnerability, and of justice yet to be fully served. As the legal process moves forward, we must remember Jessica not merely as a victim, but as a mother, a friend, a woman who believed in redemption. Her voice, though silenced, echoes through her children, her community, and all of us who hear her story. Until next time we are case closed. Stay aware, stay safe, and remember, every life, no matter how short, leaves an imprint.